starting point, and because you want to be able to get to points quicker, the idea of being more precise about things quickly is kind of can be important. But real,
it takes articulation.
yeah, to just kind of get lickety split to stuff, and yet at the same time, I it's almost like a temperament to beat around the bush. Um, Even though for some reason everything feels like I'm supposed to move at a high clip and be taking care of things and getting out of all major cities, or at least trying to mitigate the incoming damages that are potentially going to um, devastate whole communities, and that people are looking to figure out in their local communities who they want to hate or who they want to scapegoat. And so I think there's a general worldwide fear. I don't know how it is in Canada. What's your temperament? I mean, you're agreeing to that, like, right? You say,
Yeah,
like,
I
okay,
just feel
so
the separation between the people, whether they like just everything.
yeah,
Now pushed to a point of people just making assumptions that who's vaccinated and who isn't. Like it's like if you're not walking around showing your proof of servitude, proving that you can follow orders. If you don't follow protocol, all of a sudden you're labeled out as a problem.
yeah. I mean, neither of us signed up for our nation's drafts. So what business does the citizenry? I mean, even that phrase, the citizenry, as opposed to the population of, right? But citizenry is the formal term for those that the government provides for or services about. And so, but it is interesting that the citizenry itself is being treated like chattel, or that, like in the US, if you join the military, you're signing over their possession of your body for 4 years, unless I guess you can fall out with I don't know, a dishonorable discharge or something like that. Uh, and I don't know. I once knew a guy, and he went into basic training, and when the sergeant was yelling at him, saying, "Does he think this is funny?" he just kept laughing because he couldn't imagine. Like anytime the sergeant was yelling, he was thinking of that movie, like Full Metal Jacket, and he just couldn't stop laughing, like because he knew the guy was just putting on a bullshit act. So the guy dropped out, and he became a contract lawyer. Makes pretty good money. Yeah, just writing contracts, and a real estate guy. So he did well. Bobby. I didn't refer to him as Bobby that way, just like, hey Bob. But these other guys refer to him as Bobby. Bobby Ida. Anyway, yeah, so we're not doing any good at getting straight to the point about the situations that are at hand, even though I guess you did bring up already the idea of the vaccine outright. Because somebody commented, I think it was Ron Johnson. Ron comments on a few things, I think, on my YouTube channels, but it had something to do with. So in my last video, it was like, oh, so you make a video and you're telling people to get vaccinated, right? Or don't get vaccinated. And anyway, I thought, God, what good is it to talk about such things without a code name that wobbles the algorithm? So one guy that I like refers to it as the stick and the cerveza sickness. And the cerveza sickness, I don't know why he does it. It's like beer, the beer sickness. It's like, okay.
Oh,
So, but I kind of like the phrase, it was like, okay, Spanish for beer. Even though I got a Foster's down here.
That is kind of like andale, andale, arriba. It is kind of cute, like the little mouse.
Yeah.
I don't. What was that little Mexican mouse? Arriba, arriba.
Oh, Speedy right. Speedy Gonzalez. Yeah. Yeah.
And I always love the jokes about, when tequila comes to the party. Like, sometimes that stuff's funny.
Right. Yeah. And I, was a dishwasher in Huntington Beach in a Sizzler, and they had offered me. They were weirded that I was a white guy and I wanted to be the dishwasher, but that's when I learned the proper way to sing "Ba la Bamba." And
Yeah, Valence.
yeah, but in any case, so all of that amazing, it kind of like I was talking to a few people about our generation, like our generation being the last generation that kind of get to think. Like it had to remember phone numbers and it had to right and it had to remember space and it had like its location without this in mass, and it knew a different it intuited things differently on what to think about or what to value. And so that's being just technologically recoded. So the uh, the running again for president, as being a serious idea would, at the very minimum, be a transposition of my opinion to the public about policy and or a re-register of not a para presidency, a presidency of the para United States, which echoes something of a constitutionality that's been upgraded with all equitable legal systems that have already been put in play, and yet something that becomes more of a minarchism. And ironically, and in contrary to that, a system of government that would be required by being government to show all laws to the public that the public is subject to, from their local municipality to the county to the state, if there's regional laws or territorial laws, and then to the federal government. And then the idea of making certain, one of the echoes into the constitutional past would be that the states allow the federal government to exist with certain delimited powers. Now, I don't know where I'm stating that from, but I'm stating it because I believe that's the structure of it, that the states get to know what powers are granted to the federal government. And we know that the government's done all these workarounds and loopholes, if not outright clapper lies and cover ups, and trying to shut down and kill Assange and shut down whistleblowers because they don't want the lid off of the bigger information to get to the plebes. Because
but isn't that the ironic part with like the climate change? There is no lid on anything. The ozone was like the start of people understanding that we have no safety net.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that was blowing out. And now the temperature, I mean, the greatest snow on earth in Utah is all but bleak. I would show you guys if I wasn't a hassle. Hey, look, we have 0 viewers.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, no, I know. I just like saying that when I'm on, like, oh, hey, to my one viewer. I mean, let me tell you what it is to be like right at this very moment in time. Where were you when Faith and I were talking?
Yeah, where were you? That is in a song lyric, like, where were you when we were... Oh, that's a Champagne Supernova. Where were you when we were getting high?
Right.
So yeah, where were you? And you know what? If we do this today, for the 20 minutes, we stay on track so that we make sure we got our stuff done. We can do it again tomorrow.
Well,
the next day.
On another point that has nothing to do with the political stuff, but you were bringing up, Laurel and Bart.
Oh yeah.
And our friend in Mary.
Mary 9.
Yeah, Mary 9. And some of the old folks. I think what had happened was I think they had taken such a nice liking to Anton that when I used the Gary explosive technique with my own little twist of not like taking Anton's kind of like there, young one, this like I'm so wise position. And I do have to admit, I mean, after it's like when you start getting into certain other people's reading lists, it's like that is amazing what information gets covered.
Yeah, reading lists are fun. I agree fully on that.
Yeah. Well, and I just finished this George Steiner After Babel book, and that one I spent. It's a 475, maybe 95 page book, maybe 474. It was critiques on translation because he's a translator, Oxford educated, Chicago University educated, just brilliant. And he's the first guy that ever proposed a pushback against Wittgenstein's.
What's interrupting?
That was Phoenix, and I just hung up on him.
Okay. But that's kind of interesting that Phoenix, like, remember how we were all that triangle that other time when you were at Venice Beach was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Well, and he's trying to get me to go down to La Jolla again, at least for the beginning of the year. He really feels like the like he's got something to do musically, culturally, and how actually what's going on is going to be more beneficial to the nomadic artists than people know, because there is kind of by working on the street, you get to talk to people on the street, and you get to talk to people walking on the street from wherever, and so it's almost like being party to something that's akin or close to those that are homeless. And so you get, friends in low places, and you see how different communities work on a personal but almost a derogatory level, like a more of a slummy, ramshackled level of existence. Hey, my shit's in a shopping cart. Like I just let the wizard come by. They call him the wizard or Tan to shower the other day, and he's like, "Oh, I haven't showered since," and he referenced something about 2.5 months ago. Oh shit. Okay. Well, Phoenix just called my gallery guy and left him a message, and I guess he wanted to tell me what that message was. And that's what these little notifications are. Oh, nothing about the 3D piece. Okay, so that's nothing. In other words, and don't worry about it. Don't excuse yourself like you got to be modest or something.
No, I'm just saying. When you're in the zone, a lot of things are going to come at you because it's just everything starts working. I'm sure whatever the message is good.
Oh, well, the zone,
that link for the painting.
To me, I like the frequency at that point. You used to be about frequency. Now you said zone when I thought, no, it's got to be about like that thing.
All the frequencies are in the zone.
No, well, no, because well, you can, no, I do, well, no. Yes. Okay. Yeah, in your world, yeah, in my world, not necessarily, because to me, I mean, yeah, no, the zone is one thing, but like sometimes I'm here and I'm in complete silence. So I'm in a different frequency because I'm in complete silence. And nothing is interrupting me. It's like, or maybe the slightest of things would eventually interrupt the time. But sometimes there's these huge time spaces where I'm in a painting zone and everything's silent and everything's just silent, mostly at night. If I get up and I'm painting, that's it. Yeah, that's the zone. That's the zone.
All that means is you're finally tuned in, tapped out, and you are on your own frequency. Good for you.
Well, it feels like, hey, look, I just got out of my diapers and I'm into my new shorts. Yeah, I'm an adult now.
Everything here is raw. You're naked, buddy.
No, I know. Well, and then the thing is trying to figure out, like, okay, you're naked, pussy. It's like, oh no. when the world starts clamoring down, when you're
isn't that
thrown
what
against
Emperor's New Clothes are all about? You know.
Well, I do think that what's going on, like it's interesting just to have competing epistemologies, and so if you bring up one that suggests that the virus itself is, according to virologist MDs, if I can actually vet them, that seem to at least talk the talk to a degree that they're outsmarting me. Not saying that's super easy to do, but at the same time, I believe that this New Zealand MD lady is a point about the history of virology, not isolating viruses.
History is always important to
study.
Like,
right.
That's always the reason.
But her point was that the claim of there even being a virus that is this certainly treated as if this field itself is not under a type of tentative dispute about how it is you isolate a virus, how it is you test for a virus. She basically said even the testing for a virus is just a killing of the other cells around it, based on some chemical that you've put in it, but really you're dealing with a plasm, and because you can't isolate what it is, you can draw from it, but the isolation down to the molecules is basically saying this has been not only proved, it's been taken to court, and it's had expert witnesses, and she bases her kind of career on it, and she's censored from YouTube. Amy.
Well, I think that most subjects on that specific topic are all like that's not our point of our conversation. But yeah, there's tons of.
What is the point of our conversation?
The point of our conversation was about the imagination and about we were just saying, hey, press record, because we were really just having a good afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
About, like, hey, we should do this again, or grab a beer next time, or hey, what about Bark Lord?
You brought up Bark Lord, and like, hey, you need to talk to Bark Lord because that will help things. And
I enjoyed. Maybe you could both be doing reviews of books. That's actually something that's a collab right there.
Oh well, no, I'm not worried about. I mean, that you're right. It's good to
it's
ponder
nice
ideas that could
have
be
tea time with old friends. That's nice, and
there's
lots of good people on YouTube, even though the world's all crazy.
That's what I was saying about Laura Layla and those girls. Is like, as soon as I went after Anton with any bravado, it was kind of like it felt almost like a deficit smear, but not all of them. I'm sure, like I even got like positive feedback for the comedy aspect, but I think they knew I was purposely being defensive,
that's like
because I'm like,
ago.
oh no, I know, but that's the thing though, is I think that's also when Mendham was on To Be Serious's ass about the way she looked, like, you have a fat head, or you blah blah, or he just attacked the shit out of her.
Crazy.
And it drove a lot of people crazy. It even drove Anton crazy, and I thought it was just like Christ. And then she was very reactive, to the point where he was like so happy that he browbeat her right off of doing videos, because he made her feel so damn self-conscious. And then I think when I attacked Anton with the Professor Anton musical and so forth, that somehow it was almost like, oh, you mean boys doing mean boy things to us innocents. And I was like, I
seen her bookshelf, and that was the last video I ever seen. And I always wanted to know more about what was on that bookshelf.
That's the thing, is I'm sure, like, if To Be Serious called me, and wanted to talk too, it would be interesting to catch up, because all of those conference report, everyone that was living over in Lorelea, in the UK, just a good impact. And it was such a different, like, even before I went to London and walked on the land over there, like, they were kind of precursors to how the culture, the temperament is held or pondered over there. And I really noticed that when you think of like another region's dialect is one thing, but if you narrow down to the idiolect or down to the individual speaking patterns of some of these people that you talk to online or you get into a Discord discussion, it's so like especially when you're talking about language and patterns of language and so forth, that it does seem, and this doesn't come from Steiner per se, but that the individual is so unique. But it was more about the weird, like these little hermits that must be hidden somewhere in the crevices of the UK that are finally popping online, and you get to hear their weird accents and takes on things.
Like
but
blue glass, Laura Lea and her blue glass, and like the awareness to source energy. I totally felt that with Laura Lea the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, she did focus. I mean, everyone had a genre, had a voice in some greater way. So it is interesting, and then you got the younger groups, because I was thinking of the Orwell, who goes by Arvel now, and then the Wolf of Winchester guy, but he's not a YouTuber, but just the people that I have met because of this particular channel. And, the people that I've interacted with now, as far as I know, Ron might be this patron of mine that has the Sassy Scream painting.
Who is Ron?
Well, there would be a photo of him. He better be on my website on the owner's page, and he's holding up the Sassy Scream. I think, unless I'm wrong, and he might correct me. Don't worry about it. What are you worried about?
No, I'm just
like, what are you like? What?
I'm like, where to look, because I'm looking at the camera.
Well, no, if you go to mikefell.com and
make sure that I need that link. If you could link it in the description for me, I'd really appreciate that.
Maybe after the video I can do it. Right now, though, in the video link is a link to my Skeletons Kissing painting, and I might even done a video on that. Yeah, see that one over there, just for all the viewers. Blah blah blah. Look at all those prints in the hallway. A map, Utah, and a big red slop, and a calendar. Okay, in any case, now we're totally meandering, and now we're at a 22-minute marker. We've reminisced, but without going into like the specific nuances. But you know what? Like Laura Lea did that equality contest, I think is what she was calling it even, and I won a red ribbon. I even have it over here.
Oh, right on. Can you show it?
Yeah.
Or no, just
it's called.
I never did that.
And she mailed it to me because I won the red ribbon for the Equality Video Competition of 2013.
I love that.
Yes. So I think it's kind of cool.
Do anything, but that's so cool.
Yeah. It's got some dust on the ribbon's lapel, if that's a thing. Oh yeah, that's. See, this is the thing.
Energy was awesome. Same with Barklord, like just super energy, good people.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you had a.
Karen and Kathy.
Yeah. Well, without trying to, I guess, drop too many people's first names, but the whole thing is, I thought you were, because I didn't really know you at the early times, but you had intersected because you had seen a lot of them online, and so
Barklord showed me your page. Right,
when Barklord introduced you to me, or I guess that's how that went. That was some common channels that we both knew were.
Look how neat the canvas looks on that painting.
Oh,
yeah, I like. It's just that it looks. You know what I mean? It's when you get that close, it's very weathered on. It just looks really cool.
Thanks. No, even. Oh, you're doing the skeletons.
Like, the brick wall, you imagine it has a rough texture to it, and by the look of the canvas, it looks like it would feel like a brick wall.
Oh, so one thing I want to do is I got to finish this painting before next Wednesday, No, actually, I have to finish it before. Yeah, definitely before next Wednesday, because the show is the following, I think, Saturday, and so we're hanging it on Wednesday, and
So that's a week.
I need to get prints made of it also. Gosh, see, I kind of need to finish. Yeah, I kind of need to finish this super soon, like by Friday. By Friday. What is today? Today's Tuesday.
Today is Wednesday, and if you have time, it'd be nice to visit for like 20 minutes, half an hour tomorrow around same time, lunchtime, and then. I don't know. I'm going to keep my things on cue cards just to make the tasks that I have to get done this week. Like, I need to get these things done this week before the snow hits. So.
Well, and I'm trying to take my folks out shopping at some point with Jake and go do that, and we still cannot get all parties onto the same page because Jake's work situation is night shift, and so it's throwing off his. And I'm kind of open. I could do it any old time, but he seems to be holding up. So there are some requirements. So in other words, even though like I have to get off of this recording in a couple hours because I got a thing. I might not have a thing tomorrow because the point is at any given point that I have an opening to go take care of this chore that we put in motion like 2 days ago. I got to take whatever window of time I can get. But otherwise,
right.
I guess I'm not opposed to doing that. I am curious, though, since I got this recording all set up, all these weird phone numbers and messages have been coming in. And I am kind of curious about what.
They got your number from text now happened.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm sure it's like just random callers. People dial the wrong numbers all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not about the coincidental aspect of it that's so odd as much as it is about like most of the time when I get a foreign number, it says suspected spam. But this time, a bunch of foreign numbers, including a +43 number from whatever country, like the U.S. is +1 before the number. This is +43. And I was like, I don't know what +43 is. And so it was just something like that made me wonder what it is that has to be done and gone through. But in any case, the idea of
an international call, so it'd have to go. That's a certain NNX.
Yeah.
NNX is the 3 digits. The 2-digit is like out of. That's over the ocean. It's most likely Sweden or Denmark, Copenhagen.
Maybe because I redeclare or running for president, I'm already getting my international foreign affair calls coming in.
No, when things are in the zone, when we're in the zone, things go around like dominoes. Everything's like that. It's normal.
Mm-hmm. I think it's weird that. Like I didn't go to Thanksgiving this year because I had an internal issue with the hostess of the Thanksgiving.
I haven't done Thanksgiving since my mother's been gone. For the very same reason.
Well, I don't know if it's for the very same reason, but at the same time, I felt as if there was a level of ricocheted bullshit that was going on that had continued to go on in my family, that I guess for my brother is a routine. For my parents, it's an exercise. And for me, it was kind of like a reapproach to how it is they were communicating and realizing that I didn't marry my sister-in-law, my brother did, and whatever toying game she does with him or plays with him, have nothing. They don't need to extend and ingress into me. And my mom's still around, and even though she seems like she's reiterating things, so she might be having a memory issue every now and again. She at least she's lucid, and she agreed with me on that I was being outrightly disrespected. So that's why I didn't go to Thanksgiving. So that was an issue, that I just wasn't putting up with some sort of communication dynamic anymore that was going on in the family. And in any case, that's just a microcosm of
in not
drama.
Talking to them, not going over it again with them. Words don't teach. Your actions are proving that you're just, you've had enough, and you've got your own stuff to focus on, and it's, your life is certainly not, anything but yours. You don't need to be, I don't know. To me, I think that makes you. To me, when my family is like that, I feel it's just like devaluing. Like my life has no value to them. So what I think doesn't matter. I just can't accept that anymore. I don't want to be around people that feel that way about me. I'm so sorry they feel that way about me, but I'm not going to change.
Well, and then you could have the cardinal signs or the mutable signs, because some people, I say, they, or the way they hold certain topics. Sometimes the topic is so important, or the habit or the definition is so important that they're not easily able to change it. Kind of like Phoenix is not Phoenix's, birth name, so it's a changed name. And the thing is he sometimes laments that his nephews, who he just is barely getting to know as kind of young men or old boys, makes him appear to be a real crazy uncle. But that's actually not what I was. That's not what I was going to mention. I just realized I shouldn't be speaking publicly about anybody's really internal affairs other than my own. Like, I'm willing to discuss that I have a conflict to some extent with my sister-in-law.
Right. That it was only to point, like, especially to me in general, just point out the contrast, the black and whiteness to it. That's that simple. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah.
I'm not reading into that, and you're not expressing more than that. It's just a fact.
Just a fact. Well, I'm finding descriptions that people have between the younger generation that's growing up in computers, and their modes of communicating with and amongst each other. And I mean, they have a whole different, like, cartoon and game and toy infrastructure and references that if I was a parent, maybe I'd be up to date on what toys and games and stuff that kids all kind of are aware of, because I'd be raising a kid and probably looking at that stuff. But I'm not really tuned into that. And so that's one thing.
You know what just happened? The guy that made Clerks, I know you know that guy, he just brought out a new adaptation to that old Grayskull and the Thundercats. I've been watching that with
like
Marcus
He-Man
on the weekend. I really like it.
Like He-Man or Thundercats?
He-Man and Thundercats. I spent all of Sunday watching because I couldn't stop. I just was like, oh my God, they brought the 80s back.
Well, see, and that's the weird thing. Is trying to, like, even when I was at my folks and I was watching Criminal Minds or whatnot, they had some reference. Well, it was actually a dated episode, so it must have been a CIS before it. But they had some references to pandemics and stuff like that, but they weren't wearing masks or something like that. And something seemed like an obvious, like different about the show now, in that they were trying to influence current culture, like catch up to date with it and yet reflect it, and yet also put on another kind of, I don't know. I don't even want to make a conversation about news cycles and media.
So are you, in a way, can I just put it as a Back to the Future kind of between?
Yeah, see, my kitty's right here. One of them. This whoa. See how uncareful that was? That's how I'd be if I was president, folks. I'd be uncareful. I'd be zigzaggedy, and I'd be partially schizoid and not hitched with kids, and therefore I would be like a perfect assassinated president if you guys thought I got out of line. See, now I can't say that, and I wouldn't believe it, because I wouldn't go up there with the idea of being a puppet. I think one virtue that Trump at least attempted to do was disentangle himself from the power elite and the global governing system. Hence, they called him a populist, which a good, populism and nationalism are somewhat parallel, but they're used differently for different connotative reasons. But at the same time, it's this idea that the fact that we see that what's going on is a multi-governed system, mostly the British, American English speaking world. I don't know of all the stats of all countries on the planet. I guess there's a way to look all that up with regards to the coronavirus, but the idea of being a populist now, or having something that's considered native to your culture, such that just by being English speakers, we're tied in that tie. But I mean, like, as far as being a Canadian, at least you guys have, the Trailer Park Boys and the Maple Leaf. And we have Americana and hockey sticks.
Cross-check, just come on my property.
And you have Steven Crowder, and you have Martin Short, and you have Captain Kurt, and you have all sorts of Jim Carrey, it's all sorts of Canadian influence. And yet that stems, there's some high altitude bravado and something that comes from being part of that culture that America doesn't implicitly have, but America has this certain bravado to it, or behavior to it, that is also
Well, we need more like real life superheroes, like Navala. She was the first Canadian superhero is Navala. She's like the Queen of the North.
Yeah, and
we need more. Yeah, we need more
up
superheroes.
In Yellowknife. See, I thought, well, that's probably the closest city to Santa Claus that anyone can really get to. So maybe. I thought, well, maybe I should make my way up to Yellowknife. Because I figure every president is asked about aliens, but shit, they haven't even found Santa Claus yet.
So the Northern Lights are up there. It is very alien.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's got to be some tonal quality to people living in Alaska, or in the high north countries that comes along.
Elevation.
With like but the magnetic.
It's the whole frequency thing about hiring your elevation, hiring your frequency. You can't tap into a radio station if you're not tapped into it. You can change the radio stations whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on who you're around. I'm sure that's a U2 lyric somewhere too.
Well, yeah, just trying to think of these general dynamics of kid populations growing up, the naivety or the
as influencers, it matters how you influence people, obviously.
Yeah, so obviously.
It seems to be a huge change around right now, is how anybody that, if you're going to step on dog, people, you don't know, you have no idea what is going to reflect back. It is very important that the younger generation, know that there's, I don't know, maybe there is a reason that some things have to go somewhere else. You can't always have like hell and high water. Like, yeah, it's just a,
right.
There's way for us to be better leaders. There's way to express better communication, like ways to be a better role model, I guess is the only thing I can think of to word it. A better leader. So maybe the word president, in your mind, like that's what I'm saying as well, is like we need better leaders.
Well, a better leader is one thing, but the presidency's powers should be limited, and like the executive branch has been overstepping and utilizing executive power where the Supreme Court hasn't attempted to limit it.
Maybe if we had better leaders, we wouldn't need a president. Does that make any sense?
No, it does make sense, and yet at the same time, I think even though there was probably abuse in every administration, from nepotism to being bought out or lobbied into some decision. I think that there was also like a greater relationship to what the outline description of what the limit of powers are for a government, let alone each branch. As soon as they started separating like high senators and breaking things off, so there were senators of states that were allowed, they were privy to some high intelligence that the rest of the senators were not allowed. As soon as they made that little hierarchical leap so that they could do a power structure within the senatorship, that caused a problem. And so the whole idea is that the government is obviously not being as transparent as it could be. And so an administration that would require a disclosure of things by the government to be instituted would be something that I think an executive power could still do. It'd be something
to extend to more free act, like there should be more freedom.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But like I understand the point, but again, words don't teach. It's not going to help us get to more freedom. The only way to get to more freedom is to get in alignment with our true energy. Which
but how does your individual true energy distribute to everybody else's will?
Oh, right now I'm having trouble. I don't know.
Well, my point is,
I don't know who's tuned in or tuned out. Sometimes I just go and then I don't.
But to me, freedoms are earned when. To me, freedoms are earned. I shouldn't say earned. Meaning, if you know all of the laws that surround you, and a new law comes into place, and then you can go to the government site and say, okay, this law is now registered by the government as an active law, and you know that you have one database by the government that's disclosing what the government does, then you're aware of what you're not free to do. And so then you can vote to expand that. But even the idea of getting back to some sort of house cleaning, not a vortex, but some sort of house cleaning and what government means, what an official means, what a representative means is also bought out. Like there's so much corruption because everything's capitalistically based politics instead of virtue-based politics. The structure itself, I think, has some sort of therewithal and orthodoxy that it would be great if it was maintained, even though the younger generations and more experience and freedom digitally seems to, and mythic movies that hope, well, like series that people like Game of Thrones, like where a mass swath of the population watches some mythic movie that becomes like a contemporary phenomenon, and that somehow gets mapped in their mind as a possible idealism or a possible structure of the way the world works, which is counterfactual to the way the legal system is currently. But the way the current legal system is built is based so much around property, but it's also based around how one owns things, and companies are things that people own. And so the idea of registering official groupings of people on the private level or the public level. Like I guess I could have unknown investors or non-disclosed treasurers to companies. But for the most part, when you declare, you make a public business public, you're disclosing that information where anybody that wants access to it can go get access to it. Right. And yet our government and departments are necessarily, top secret, high end, hidden from a very small group of people. But those people themselves then are seemingly unaccountable or take on too much information, where the information itself becomes overburdening against any sort of attack on them, which can allow, and what I believe has happened, is that there's been a corporate lobbying buyout, if you will, coup of possibly the planet. And I mean, we're the reserve currency, and we're printing all these trillions. And I didn't read the 2,000-page bill that just went through that is supposedly going to overinflate and just demolish the value of the dollar, such that the supplanting everything into Bitcoin isn't going to be. I don't know. What do you think on that description?
I think that's the best way of expressing it, because I'm not someone that even, fiddles with a lot of that stuff, but it takes a lot of thinking and sorting out, I guess. I need a pen and a paper. I don't know much about Bitcoin, but it's a good topic. Everybody, it's just a great topic. I don't know a lot about any of that.
Well,
Bitcoin
anyway.
Or this new coin, cyber currency.
By the way, what I would need, if anyone's interested that watches this video and you would like to be one of 5 people that, if I do have to incorporate to run for president again, meaning I'm not entire, my company is disbanded, but I need new officers. You just send me an email, and I could probably hook you up, and then I can have an official 2 businesses with a minimum of 3 officers in each, in order to reinstate a business the last campaign cycle. Actually, I had to write to the FEC and re-up on all my paperwork there. Yep, it would be great. Get out there. And the thing is if the shit storm is going to hit the fan, there's got to be some sort of diplomacy and a regulation, not a regulation, but a quick voice, a cultural voice on how not to resort to violence, to how to be as diplomatic as whoever is perceived as a threat or the outgroup or the scapegoat, and propagandize methods of getting along, because I imagine that there's some neighborhoods and some groupings of individuals where the tensions, if it's not wealth disparity, it's race differences. If it's not management, like HOA communities, then it's over policing or under policing or something like that. Even the idea of a maintenance of a police system seems like a reasonable, rudimentary thing, even in a minarchical society. And yet you got the likes of Stefan Molyneux for years trying to say, no, that you just outsource everything, and everything is about capitalism proper and free market in terms of your guards, not thinking that whoever takes power, I guess there is something about an anarchism that ultimately I would imagine is the case, but whatever this world background charade or behavior or occurrence, or however you want to look at what's going on with the pandemic and the vaccines and all of the supply chains and the inflation,
with the current situation,
and the distrust of all sorts of institutions. Yeah, just whatever the current situation. But anyone in the future might look back and you could say, oh, in this December 1st, 2021, The opinion is that faith in the medical institution and the economic, I don't want to call it an institute, apparatus, the faith in political representation, the faith in body autonomy, the faith in,
Right.
I shouldn't say the faith, but just...
No, that's a good word.
Well,
it is. It's your energy. It's your belief in that energy. That is what faith is. It's
yeah,
a belief in your own energy.
But it's kind of a lack of trust. So if there's a faith in it,
you don't need to worry about a lack of trust with faith. Faith has got you 100%. That's your own energy.
Well,
and
no, I'm just trying to
have that.
Meaning, but it would be more applicable to my thinking to adjust the word to. Like faith, if I say, well, people lack the faith in the institution, right? I can say that.
Yeah, they did.
And so I can say, well, they lack the trust in the or they're finding enough fractures, so they're trying to hold on. And to me, it's a good idea to hold on because I think shit is getting so, like, to maintain a sense of formal behavior. Like, hey, if I can file a lawsuit this year, there's still going to be a legal structure to administer civil justice on the land, or by next year, is that going to be gone or over corrupted or bought out? Maybe
it's the lack of harmony. And on that note, do you see?
Right. And
you
maybe
see how
that's
I am
closing
where
time.
I'm like, I'm in the zone and I'm not budging because I've been in the zone for a long time. I feel like you are really at a point of having everything you want, like surrounding you in your fractal space. Everything, you're breaking it all down really nicely, and it's really nice to sit and visit with you. I've known you for a long time, and I think it was just important to me today to want to try to say, hey man, did you get that video? And what are you reading? Like, what have you? It was like going back to the old days almost. It felt like.
Well, I was even thinking of that guy, and he was in New York, and he does all these like wild videos. But for some reason, some people's names start like they're like, because when we're online, there we reiterate this kind of group. But like, I met Steve Ernst in California, Scary Dave. Got this other guy that's not really a YouTuber down there, but knows us because of YouTube. And so it's interesting to meet the people that I meet, but it would just be nice if I could just recall everyone's names, like you were talking about Stizer, you were talking about that other English fella, that the comedian.
Jama Flipper.
Jama Flipper, but no, I'm thinking of Coughlin.
Oh, Richard the Dick Coughlin.
Yeah. So there's something, I guess I want to loop back to say there's something about some punkish angst that the UK also has that I think that
it's called like hardcore.
Like somebody in Canada really justified the melting pot of your country. They're like we're around, Saudi Arabian poor people, and we're around Ethiopian folks, and we're around, Russians, and like we're around this huge melting pot in Canada. And so you guys have a virtue of going along to get along. And I was trying to examine the idea of the urban tribal groups or gangs, you could even say, or the way people group. They maneuver amongst each other with kind of a general respect, and there's also an integration that goes on in populations where when you get into these other areas where people are attempting to break everything down on race as opposed to, let's say, religion, right? Then there's these out groups that are necessarily merely phenotypic and problematic. And so and one thing I just wanted to mention was I thought and I'd come to the conclusion that what's going on with the vaccinated compared to the unvaccinated, if you will, of this pervasive sickness, has to do with what, like people join groups all the time. They're parts of groups. You're part of the big boob group. You're part of the Canadian group. You're part of the people named Faith group. You're part of the Native group of, or the Indigenous group of Canada, First Nation, or however it's expressed. But what I was saying is it really comes down to the difference between the appeal to the value of the group versus the individual sanctity, the idea that one becomes a compulsory
like one for
population.
All.
So it's the group versus the individual. Yeah, one for all for one. Let's all get in there and stick this stick in our arm. And the thing is it's justified also, though, meaning I understand the real appeal. I understand that there's a lot, there's plenty of people that are, I guess, getting along just fine, but and there are a lot of doomsayers, like, oh man, if you took that vaccine, you're going to be dead in a year or two, right? Like that thing's going to slowly whittle you down. And you even have some doctors coming up with some possible schemas that are not, saying that that's untrue. And at this stage, I would say I don't know, but it is interesting to hear anecdotes. That part seems true.
With waiting until we do know something that makes us feel more comfortable, because as of right now, there's not too much that's made any of us feel really comfortable about anything that's going on.
Well, and that was the other thing, is it appeared that modern propaganda is, part and parcel to maintain a level of interest, but a level of fear, a level, if it bleeds, it leads. And since around the globe you can find plenty of bleeding, a feel-good story is a rare exception now. Normally it's just back-to-back horror investigation or opinion on how to approach those. And so even the idea that there's not media checks, that there's not, like part of a government apparatus, if the government had to set up of its own accord, which would be an expansion of government. So that's why I said it was contrasting, would still be where the government would tell you its exact opinion about it. Like whoever's like
alignment is telling you it's 111.
Well, right. No, I'm glad you mentioned that.
For me to remind you that
that's right.
You've got yourself in a really good place right now, and that's why it's really fun to hang out. So,
well, and I'm sorry I got all political also, or talking, but in some ways
I think we harmonize together just fine. We know how to harmonize, and that's whatever. It's been fun. The whole time's been fun.
Well, I'm glad I like it too.
Not something
like, what people miss is the pre-talk, the pre-show talk. Well, we got one viewer, and it's probably
harmonize with you as well. This is just a great start that people can see the domino roll off of. Oh well, yeah, I would, sometimes everybody wants, everyone has a time of wanting to harmonize. Is really a great word. I really hadn't looked at it like that till I was thinking of it that way.
Well, and you had brought that up, like a sense of unity. Like there is an approach that I often would say is a feminine approach, which is trying to vie for the group or the thing that will be the most allowable. Like if a woman has many kids and one of them is a crazed kid, she still wants to bring all, have an instinct to care for the offspring, something like that. So I put that as a government thing. There might be something motherly about the citizenry that is a feminine aspect.
Maybe
but that's why they say
with Mother Earth, that's stronger than a lot of the political things that are going on. Like really, Mother Earth will just trump and crush that argument right out. We don't have time to. Do you know what I mean? It's not about dividing and conquering anymore. We are one, and for those that haven't come to that conclusion yet, they missed the call.
No, I agree that we're one. I just don't know whether or not the hierarchies that be in financial institutions and in authority positions and in access to the technology and access to the people sort of I mean, we're in an age where everybody could go viral if your story is big enough. But
being any of those things, though, being any of those things only comes to the same harmonization of the best for everyone, which is moksha.
Well, but what I was saying was, it appears that
for everybody.
Well, moksha, sure. But I was saying, like, some people consider our spherical Earth to be a pyramid, and that they need the advantages of existence. Yes.
From going to a spiral to the pyramid is perfect. Being in, you can sit and spin in life and death forever, but I'm looking for that triangle to get out.
Well, and the pyramid is the hierarchy, though. But it is interesting because I also think that one should get to an apex, and that is one of the psychological issues. Is like, do I want to live a loving, harmonious, beauty creating, artistic, culturally influencing to the mere extent that I am, to the microcosm that I am, or Brad Pitt will be in 50 years or is today, right? Almost like a dated actor that might be known less than Frank Sinatra or something like that in future times. The point is whatever little dot that we are in the body of Gaia is it's like I still think we're one body, but there's always that differentiation, or kind of like that cell can die off. But the whole idea is not to kill one's body and not to destroy the singular planet that we have, but to guide.
You can't kill energy.
Yeah, you can't do anything. Right. Though I don't want to argue reincarnation, but my point was,
nobody likes to go any farther.
It was still.
I'm just saying that cell. That cell, it didn't really die. It just became a new cell.
Well, or it got pissed out of the body.
And then it went into the ground and regrew, turned into a dandelion, and went into air, and then the bird ate it and shit it out.
Yeah, but and then it's almost like if you look at like cells that retain some sort of janky aspect of it, you could say, well, that's like a soul family, that all the nodes are connected. And well, the whole idea is that however much you want to from the atom up, you want to say it is still an it that turns into that, instead of no, it is dissipated throughout the whole, if you will, and may manifest into some more material form. That's fine.
It's like the energy is already there. That's what life is. We are already alive. So why should we try to break it down?
Well, even the orb that I saw that had a central spot where the figure eight thing was moving across, it was like a center gravity point. It was almost like so if the soul retains its exterior of its own definition, let's say we're doing soul analysis, and let's say, oh yeah, everyone, when you die, it's like you are as contained in the spirit as much as you are contained in your being and mind and your sense of embodiment. And so that then you could say you travel and reincarnate as a gravity-centered energy that then does remanifest as like a new embodied soul, if you will. But this whole dichotomy, the soulless body argument, I don't
go back into the same body.
So metaphoric.
You're always the same soul, though. You're always the same energy. You might not be able to go into the same body, though.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant, is the whole idea of reincarnation as like a Hindi literalism is interesting to contemplate and to extend an olive branch to in some regard.
My favorite harmonization. This is my topic. I totally hear you.
Well, and yet the idea of hellfire would be like broken volatility of one's sense of, you're over radicalized through every position. That's why, like, the Jordan B. Petersons are like, oh no, we're gonna lose foundation, right. And it's like, don't worry, it'll dry out.
Tell me to clean my bedroom one more time, and I'm just gonna scribble on the wall.
Right. Come on, guy. Like, you're not describing the human condition.
That's why I went to Jocko. Like, I go to Jocko all the time because Jocko just knock it out. Like, I love Jocko and Echo. He talks with Echo, and that's his Echo. And Jocko is like, I just like Jocko because it gets me in the, hey man, I got to get some work done today.
But you don't mean in a jocular fashion? You're talking about someone named Jocko.
Jocko, yeah, I'm talking about Jocko Wilkin.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Oh, I don't know how you don't know who Jocko is yet, but Jocko is the one who just gets you out of bed. No time for sleeping in today. I'm not taking today off. Like, as many times as I'll talk about anything like, oh, the vortex and harmonization, and we should all love each other, all for one for all, 11. I can talk like that forever, but also know I'm very military, and I'm Jocko every morning. It's why I wake up at 4. It's why, like, I know how to follow protocol. I'm 50 years old, and I'm gonna keep improving the rest of my life. I'm only going up. And Jocko is a huge part of that.
Oh, good. It's
like you need strong brothers in your life, or you're not gonna swim. You're not gonna make
it. Some people
you don't go swimming with somebody that says, "Oh, just jump in the water, everything's gonna be okay," and you don't know how to swim. Oh, fuck no. Like, you need teachers, and Jocko Wilkin is a military, he's a military person, and I just thought he was so popular, everyone would know him.
Okay,
but
no,
it doesn't matter. He's like a Joe Rogan. He's like a Joe Rogan times 10.
But he's like a heavy workout guy, right? He does like get up, work
he
out.
He just wrote a book, and maybe it would be great. If, like, you know what I mean? You and Jim just Barkler doing that book thing. I think it'd be whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just mentioning Jocko, like the Rocky of YouTube. You know what I mean? If you need something to listen to, just look up Jocko.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll send you my favorites.
Akira
the Don is a DJ. I just want to make sure you can hear. Akira the Don is a DJ. That's how I know about Jordan Peterson or Jocko, is because Akira the Don DJ put them together in a music thing, and I'll send you that music thing, and then you'll know why I like it.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
It just keeps you on the ball. Like, you know what I mean? You'll stay in your zone if you put this in your head.
Yeah, no, okay, no, I'm all game. I'll listen to what you're sending my way. Yeah, I do wonder how I am prioritizing really my focus and my time and my expertise, but I don't mind you sending that over.
No, we're at 121 right now, and I'll send it to you tonight before bed, just in case you catch it before sleep. If not, it doesn't matter. You know the names now. That's all that's important, is that you got Jocko in your head now. That's all I needed to do.
See, and I'm upset because I was painting in the dark, not total darkness, but to darkness, and I ended up having gray in my white, and I put it on a light blue, and now I have to make up for it.
Well, maybe, sometime, whatever. Like, I just like to say there's no mistakes. So, like, just like I took some blue sidewalk chalk, and I put it on top of my ocean, and then took a silver paint and mixed it together. And what was really cool is how blue chalk paint blue chalk looked with silver paint. It made it like texturized, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It made something new. So.
No, the gallery guy, his name's Cade, and he's been working on all sorts of, like, very geometric, very kind of like, I don't know, he's trying to build his art thing up, and he comes from a very wealthy family, so he's got all these canvases that he does all these, like, very simplistic geometric kind of expressions, but he also plays around with a lot of neon paints, like infrared colors, neon paints, and it's kind of nice to see somebody exploring on a rudimentary level instead of like getting so caught up in a method that they're not sometimes people are in discovery mode, and other times they're into what you don't have, you don't need it now mode.
Right.
And so it is interesting to figure out those that are stuck in their positions relative to those that are mutable. But as far as the mutability of the psychology of humans, it seems like it's, I mean, God, a lot of it does have to do with focus and attention to change someone's mind.
When you're like,
but the will to the
when
group
you're painting,
too. Yeah.
You can't be thinking about your painting about like in the sense of where. See, this is what's hard about where I am is like it's really hard to put it in words because words don't teach, actions teach, and you know.
Oh, I should mention that this clown that I'm painting on now was made by Kayla Tahina. I forgot her last name.
And I should look that up so that.
Well, I'll have to figure out her Instagram, and I mentioned her in previous videos also. Cool. And maybe I could tag.
Well, I really like just the, whatever. Like, if there's something consistent that a crowd can come up with, it'd be like a quick coffee time, quick tea time in the afternoon where people can brainstorm and hopefully it remains peaceful. It's not meant as a, hey, let's get together and rip each other apart.
Well, no, and that would be like how I would imagine, like like Biden sits down, Kamala Harris or his advisors all get into a room, and then everyone's vying for time for the president, and he's trying to order things, so he's got a secretary trying to help him order his schedule out and take care of a bunch of business. And they don't, you don't want anyone to bite your head off while you're just trying to, be a politician. Although the population seems to despise the shit out of the guy.
I want to change this politician word to leader.
Oh, right, and I want it to be statesperson, but
you like the P words, and I'm trying to get rid of the P's and the V's.
Like you don't like vivistation or
the word vigorous. I hate the most is visceral. Hate that one.
You hate? Oh, but wasn't it that made you all? And he just changed his name to his channel. But isn't it him that was using visceral too much and you're getting pissed?
No, Professor Anton.
Oh.
It was that was the first time I heard the word was Professor Anton.
That's enough reason to get upset at someone.
No, I was never upset at anyone. And I love Matthew. I'm not upset at anyone.
Oh, well.
I always love Matthew. You guys, everyone knows that. Matthew's the first YouTuber I ever watched. That's how I met him.
But Matthew has to only try to hang out with common geeks.
I don't know what Matthew's doing, but you know what? I love him all the same. He's on his own frequency. If we want to tune into that channel, we go to his radio station.
That's how I show love, is by tossing shit. Yeah, I wouldn't criticize someone if I didn't have some sort of affinity for them. Other than, I guess if it was political.
Math Fails was really fun as well.
Yeah, you put that in past tense. I wonder if that guy
because I never see him anymore. I think he has children and he's in Hawaii still. I don't know. I never see those people anymore.
Well, and then the idea of being happy to not have kids at this time in the universe is also kind of a. It's a good and a bad thing, but good.
Books, it's that Ken Wilber stuff. That's what I wanted to bring up. Math Fails about, and Kurt and whatever Math. All of them with having their children stuff. That reminds me of the Ken Wilber philosophy of the integral philosophy, which is all in those Ken Wilber books.
Ken Wilber.
Remember
I keep thinking of Wilbur from the Spider's Web now, but Ken Wilber.
That's interesting.
Oh, Ken Wilber. Ken Wilber, right. Yeah, now, okay.
It's the yoga guy that can stop his heart. Remember, I told you about him recently. You did acknowledge that you remember, and I told you I was in a chat room, and he was live on a live
But
stream.
he's an old white Santa Claus looking guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay,
and it was very nice, but and I had his books in my hand, I've read them like 15 years ago. But anyway, I kind of enjoyed being in the color coordinating. To me, it's just a color coordinated philosophy, just like the chakra system. And we're all integrals, like everyone. Like you just kind of like get to above the mind point of view.
Right. Ultimately, the spirit still wants just beauty and music and a refinement of my soul, and not a condensation into policy and arguing. But when I see, but when
to sort things out as a leader,
because in the face of what's going on contextually, it seems like a dutiful thing. Like I wouldn't be caught dead joining the military, right? But running for president is another thing, because
I do see your point. No, I do see your point.
Yeah,
what it really is, this is a linguistic problem over the word P and L. That's all this is.
Oh, okay.
I totally agree with you, though. Like we're basically, that's a simple linguistic problem. That's one word. That's the only reason we would just disagree on that one word. Otherwise, it's all good.
Well, what I think we should do, because we're at the 1:15 mark, or we should probably just say our heading out and closing down.
Well, all we're doing is just like my symbol. We're harmonizing, getting to our point, and then making sure we stay on track. So that's all we're doing. Nothing to do with time.
Everyone see her there on the camera. Oh, now you can see her. That's right. Yep. And the L for love sign, perhaps. In any case, I don't even like picking up like popular habits of other podcasters. I don't like that. It rips away unity for some sort of meta formality of what it is to be a good podcaster. It's nice.
It'd be nice to harmonize around people like you, because you're expressing it as we're gathering around you. That's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it would be fun to have people gather about to orbit, to make certain that everything's done. And yet somehow I feel like there's a kind of like I'm not even privy to what, but it feels like I have some sort of greater overarching z-axis through time point to my existence that I'm supposed to facilitate, but my faith is actually in a God that covers all circumstances. But in one way, that can be a double-edged sword also, thinking of the Job argument and stuff.
It's a good place to harmonize either way. Thank you for sharing this time with me. That's for sure. We haven't done this in a while.
Well, and you're very picking up the thanking for the podcast, getting that all recorded, making certain that you're not leaving on any edgy notes of any edgy topics, because I did the majority of the talking and didn't let you go sideways. So I'm glad that it was smooth and cool and harmonized. And
of course, it depends on who you're harmonizing with. There's a lot of bad harmonicas out there.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's the whole thing, is if you can stand people, like you could have got Rev and Shanny to drive up to, and...
oh, no.
No, I know.
Like that.
Oh, man, I didn't know my mustache made me look so stupid. I might shave that.
Mustache doesn't look stupid. No one's going to drive here. No one's doing that.
That being said,
I've done that, so you know what I mean.
Say bye to the camera. Bye, everyone. We're out of time. Beep. She thinks I'm hanging out.